Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Good evening and welcome to the Horological Society of New York November Lecture. My name is Carolina Navarro. I'm the Deputy Director of the Society, and it's great to welcome you this evening and thank you for being here. Here are just a few announcements before we get started. Okay, for New York, we have November and December classes that are now live. If you want to take a course before the end of the year, now is your chance. And just keep in mind that they also make great gifts for the watch enthusiast in your life. And speaking of gifts for the holidays, our shop will be open soon, and we're hoping to bring some great new items, so keep an eye out for that. And finally, for our education update, we're teaming up with FP Journe, and we'll be hosting classes with them in Miami and LA, so please let your friends know. Okay, a very exciting announcement. The HSNY 2025 Gala is scheduled for Saturday, March 22nd at the Plaza Hotel. Moving the gala to the Plaza will allow us to add more tables and have more space for activities and mingling with brands and VIPs and friends. Please save the date, as we would love to see you there and celebrate, and we have more details on our website. And speaking of the gala, tickets will be released according to the schedule you see here. We will be opening up sales for our gold members first, followed by silver, bronze, and the general public. If you're interested in upgrading your membership tier, you can do so before these dates to gain earlier access. Okay, and another reminder, we have an amazing exhibit on display at HSNY on our library on the 5th floor of this building, the evolution of Seiko and Grand Seiko. We have some incredible historical pieces on display, including the first Japanese wristwatch, the first quartz watch, as well as the first Grand Seiko model. Admission is free, and the exhibit will be closed next month, so don't miss out. Okay. And now on to the reason why you're all here. And here to introduce you to tonight's lecturer is Vijay Geronimo, CEO of the Americas for Oris. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Geronimo to the podium.
Thank you, Carolina. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us here tonight. On behalf of Oris, I'd like to thank you all for coming. For those of you who might not be familiar with Oris, we are a 120-year-old all-mechanical Swiss brand. I see some on wrists in the audience, so I think a lot of people are familiar with that. We do a lot of things around sustainability. That's one of the topics we kind of wanted to cover this evening. For those of you who know Oris, we make a lot of watches around environmental causes. We do a lot around that in terms of things like such as the Billion Oyster Project here in New York was something we've done recently. But we do a lot about that and try to raise awareness for sustainability in that sense. But also on the side of sustainability is social sustainability. So we've done a lot of pieces around different things and different ambassadors that we have. And when we look to our ambassadors as a brand, we like to take people of action, people that do things, people as opposed to just celebrity people or other people that have not really done so much. And so tonight, we wanted to bring you something very special. So our ambassador tonight, Yusra Mardini, perhaps you know her from the documentary on Netflix called The Swimmers. She is a two-time Olympian for the refugee team. She's a Syrian refugee, and she's here tonight to tell us her story, and we're very excited to have her, so please help me in welcoming her to the stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming out on a Monday. My name is Yusra Mardini, and I am 26 years old. I come originally from Damascus, Syria, and I left my country, I think, a long time ago now. I left my country in 2015. But let me tell you a little bit about Syria first, and the way I grew up, and my dream of becoming an Olympic swimmer. Yeah, so when I was 3 years old, only 3 years old, my dad decided to, make me a swimmer. Me, my sister, started training, just as a hobby, really. I don't think he thought we're gonna end up at the Olympic Games. But at the age of 9, I saw an American swimmer, and I was inspired by him. His name is Michael Phelps. I saw him, I think it was Athens at the time. So I watched him compete, and I was like, I really want to become the next Michael Phelps. Like I want to be at the Olympics. I want to represent my country. So that's exactly what I did. I slowly started thinking about the Olympics, but it seemed very far, especially coming from Syria, because we didn't have the same equipment, we didn't have the same, we didn't have sports school, we weren't simply equipped the same as the Western world. So that was already a challenge. But when I turned 13 years old, the civil war in Syria started, and a lot of problems started appearing. So some of the challenges that appeared were obviously, I think a year or two into the war, home. So we already became displaced in the country itself. And at the time, I did not call myself a refugee. I didn't even think of myself as a refugee. I didn't think I'm displaced in my country. So at that point, I was still swimming. And I was still thinking of the Olympic Games. And that was, as I said, the first year or two of the war starting. But then the third year and the fourth year, it started becoming very difficult. Sometimes my mom would call me and tell me to hide because there was a political escalation in one point. There would be bomb attacks. Sometimes I'll be in swimming practice and a bomb would fall in the pool, and we all had to escape. So that went on for a very long time. And at one point, my dad left the country. He went to Jordan as a swimming coach, as he was a swimming coach his whole life. And the reason is to support his family because we couldn't really support ourselves anymore in Syria. But my mom, me, and my two other siblings stayed in Syria, and I started working at the age of 15 as a lifeguard. When you're a professional swimmer, you're allowed to be a lifeguard in that age. So yeah, I started working. I started thinking about the Olympics was always in the back of my mind, but at that point, it became almost impossible to think of the Olympics because I was just thinking of surviving. When I was getting outside of my home, I didn't know if I would come back. So sometimes when I said goodbye to my family, sometimes I felt like that was the last goodbye. And I'm sure my mom and my parents were terrified of that thought. So in 2015, I think it was 2015-16 was the peak of Syrian refugees specifically leaving the country because it was very complicated and it was very dangerous to stay in the country. So in 2015, we had this conversation with my mom and dad, and we told them that we think we should leave. My older sister and I, we should refuge to Germany. And of course, like any other parent, they said no. Because it's a very dangerous journey, it's not a joke. We asked my parents so many times to the point where my dad was like, sure, if you find someone we can trust, you can go. So it happened that one of our cousins was leaving the country, so it was happening. And at the time, we did not want my mom or my little sister to come with us because we were scared of the journey. We were teenagers, so no matter what happened, we could run, we could try to survive. But my sister at the time, she was 9 years old. Again, we didn't want my mom to go through all of that. So the journey was set, and we knew that we're gonna leave. So you're never prepared for these journeys because you don't know how you're gonna cross. So on these journeys, you need to trust smugglers, you need to trust people that you've never met in your life, and you need to just listen to your gut feeling. There is no reassurance, there is no way you're gonna know what's gonna happen next. Like, you might end up on a bus going somewhere. So here's how the journey goes. We got on a plane from Damascus, Syria to Beirut, and then from Beirut you go on a plane again to Istanbul. When you get to Istanbul, you navigate what's your next step. Some people go by sea and some people go by foot. By foot it never works, unfortunately, but some people try to cross by foot because of the sea journey. The sea journey is very dangerous. A lot of refugees, unfortunately, lost their lives trying to cross. So basically, when we got to Istanbul, it took us a whole week to find smugglers, to be like, okay, maybe this will work. So you meet these smugglers, you pay them an insane amount of money. Sometimes it's $2,000 to get on a dinghy to take you to the other side, and you don't even know if you're gonna survive. So we met these smugglers. They took us to an island, and when we were on this island, we stayed for 3 or 4 days in a tent. When you go down with your dinghy, they tell you that you're gonna get on the boat right now. But then when you go down to the island, there are thousands of refugees waiting for their turn. So yeah, we stayed 3 or 4 days. There was very limited access to water. There were no bathrooms. We had dates, because dates keep you full. And sometimes some people would get out from the island to get some water or some food, but it would be very little, again, because they're refugees. They were scared to get caught. So after that, here is the most difficult part, and it is the dinghy part. So these dinghies are not equipped to have 20 people on them. And these dinghies are used multiple times. These dinghies are not really great for anything. You can maybe spend a few hours on them, but that's it. So our dinghy was, we had 20 people on this very tiny dinghy, and we were only 3 women on the boat. And the third woman was from Sudan, and she did not know how to swim. So a lot of people that get on these dinghies, they don't know how to swim. And everyone on the boat knew that me and my sister were swimmers. So when we got on the dinghy, the first thing that my sister told me as a sibling, of course, she was like, if anything happens, swim, like just go. Because the distance is not insane for a swimmer. It's 12 kilometers, so it's 6 miles, something like that. So when we got on the dinghy, after 15 minutes, 20 minutes in, the motor stops. And we don't know what to do because there was water coming in. So we were basically drowning, and the motor would work and stop the whole time. So the first person to jump overboard was a friend of my father that was with us, and he jumped for 5 minutes, and then he got on board, and he kind of started managing everybody. So the second person to jump was my sister. So she jumped from one side, and then I stood and I jumped from the other side because she was shouting and she was telling me not to jump overboard. But I told her I'm a swimmer, I can do that too. So I jumped from my side, my sister jumped from my side, and then from the back there were 2 people that were switching with each other. Some people did not know how to swim, but were brave enough to jump and try to stabilize the boat. So that took us 3 hours and a half. Usually it's a 45 minutes trip, and at the time it was very dark, so we arrived to Lesvos. It's mostly where refugees arrive when they're trying to cross. So when we arrived to Lesvos, we tried to, find anybody. We didn't have any SIM cards, so we did not really know where we're going. So we basically just followed where other refugees were going. So it took us, I think, 5 or 6 hours by foot to just find a small city. And then when we got there, it was basically crossing from Greece, Macedonia, Serbia, and then Hungary, Vienna, and then Germany, all by foot. By foot means if you find a taxi that is willing to drive you, you take the taxi. If we pretended to be Europeans on a train and then we got caught. We were scammed, as example, where there was a sign that you can pay $500 to go to Europe. And then a lot of refugees paid, and it was a scam. So this whole journey took us 25 days. And during the journey, it might sound insane to many of you, but during the journey, the thing that was in the back of my mind was swimming the whole time. And it kept my positive thoughts. It kept it kept me going. So when I got to Germany with my sister, and everyone on the boat made it, by the way, everyone's fine. Each are in different countries, but they're all good. When we made it to Germany, the first thing that I did was sport. So I did not have a pool. I didn't know where the closest pool is. I didn't speak German. Everything was very new to me. I refused the thought that this is home, because I did not choose to leave my country. So when I got to Germany, I would go for a run, or I would go and do dry land. And my sister would be like, "What are you preparing for?" And I told her, "I don't know, but it makes me feel home." So for me, sports was home away from home. So when we were in the camp, we met this incredible Egyptian translator, and we were like, "Hey, we're swimmers. We're professional swimmers from Syria. Can you help us?" So this incredible man helps us. So we go to this swimming club, and I meet a German coach, and he tested us basically, and apparently we were good enough. So he asked me one night, and he said, "What is your dream?" And I told him I want to compete at the Olympic Games. And that was not even a few months into me being in Germany. And he said, "Okay, let's work on it." He did not even question. He knew the whole story, everything. So we didn't have enough funds for me to train professionally. So at that point, I got a scholarship from the International Olympic Committee, and I didn't think anything of it. It was not even a year of me living in Germany. I was like, incredible, I'm gonna work towards Tokyo 2020. That's the goal, that's the Olympics I wanna go to. I'm gonna represent my country. That's gonna be wonderful. So a few months later, there was an announcement by the International Olympic Committee president saying that there will be the formation of the first ever Refugee Olympic Committee, the Refugee Olympic team, and they're gonna compete for the first time in Rio 2016. Again, I didn't think anything of it. And then another night, another news, it includes one of the athletes that's going to compete is a Syrian swimmer that lives in Germany. On that night, we received 300 emails. I did not even have an email on that day yet, so my coach received all the emails. And that year, I did indeed compete for the first ever Refugee Olympic team in Rio 2016. I was 18 years old at the time, and it was very difficult. When I qualified, I said I'm not going, because I did not want people to think that because of my story, I get to go to the Olympic Games. I'm a professional swimmer. I swam since I was 3 years old, so I wanted people to understand and know that I've worked very, very hard. But I had many, many conversations with my family, and I knew that sometimes in life you need to take the opportunities that come along. And when I went to the Olympics the first time, 2016, and I walked with the 9 other members of the Refugee Olympic team, I realized that actually this is not only my dream anymore. I am here to represent millions of refugees around the world. I am here to remind refugees that it's possible, that yes, you might lose everything, but that doesn't mean that this is the end. And from that point, it was very surreal, because a lot happened very quickly. After 2016, I was appointed as the youngest ever Goodwill ambassador for UNHCR, and I started my advocacy work for refugees. And then I wrote a book. It's called Butterfly. It's a biography. And after that, very shortly in 2018, we signed a deal for a film. We were approached in 2016, but I said no. And I was 18 at the time, and I'm very proud that I said no. And a lot of people said, "Oh, no one's going to be interested in the story anymore." I was like, "That's fine. I was like, that's okay. It's about my dream. It's about the Olympics. So when I started working with UNHCR, I realized that my voice as a refugee matters, that a lot of refugees go through these very difficult journeys and they don't get to talk about it. A lot of refugees get to tell their stories, but a lot of people don't believe it. So my responsibility and my sister's responsibility was to tell our stories because many refugees couldn't. So when I started working with UNHCR, basically my work was to link two worlds. I sometimes would go and speak at the World Economic Forum in front of very powerful personalities, in front of people who are able to make change in the world. And then sometimes I'll be in refugee camps where I talk to refugees, where I see what's missing in their lives. How can we help? How can we give back? And I've been working with them ever since. So a lot of incredible things happened after 2016, but my goal was still to compete at the Olympics again. So I was training besides doing everything that I was doing. A book, a movie, speaking. So yeah, sometimes I'll be, the first time I came to the US was actually to New York. And I remember it being very difficult to find a swimming pool, but I always found one. So yeah, I'll be training. Sometimes I'll be doing things like this, but then I'll be training before or after. So yeah, I made it again, and first of all, COVID hit in 2020, and it felt very far away that the Olympics will happen. So that was also an insane year, but then the Olympics happened again in 2021, and again I competed for the Refugee Olympic team, only this time the team was bigger. There is a negative and a positive side of this. In an ideal world, we don't want refugees to exist. We want to live in peace. We want to have harmony in the world. But unfortunately, this is not the case. In the past 10 years, the numbers of displaced people went from 65 million to 110 million plus. This is a very, very sad number. This is according to the UN. So for me, my mission in Tokyo was not to win a gold medal. So I realized in these few years, the way that I was thinking about sports completely changed. And Tokyo was a way for me to say, hey, we have dreams, we are normal. A lot of people ask me, were you a swimmer when you were in Syria, or did you start when you were in Germany? And I'm like, there is no way for you to make it to the Olympics if you start in Germany. Like, there is no way. So for me, there is this, I want to change the misconception about what a refugee is, where we come from, what did we have back home. And it's really, really important to always shed a light about refugees are not dressed a certain way. We are already doctors, engineers, athletes before we leave our country, but we leave our country because we're forced, because it's not safe. And there's always a lot of refugees say that, or said that to me many, many times. It's like, you never leave home unless, the journey is safer than staying home. So yeah, after I competed in Tokyo, I swam for 2 more years, and I retired 2 years ago. It's very weird to say retired. I'm 26, I know. But I did retire from competitive swimming, and I still love sports. I still love every aspect of it, which brings me to our next point, which is my work with Oris. Oris reached out I think shortly after The Swimmers was released, and it was really incredible because they were very eager on making social impact. And this is why our values align. So the conversation started with, how can we make this world better? How can we support? And after the movie was released, I launched my own foundation. I was like, okay, it's time. And it's called the Yusra Mardini Foundation. And our first partner is Oris. And we're very, very proud of that because as I said, our values align, and you can see already they were doing projects with climate change, with environmental impact, and that was very important for us. And we started with our first project, which was teaching refugees how to swim, because I think it's very important. A lot of people don't know that, as example, but there are refugees stuck in between countries. So as example, I crossed Greece, and I was very fortunate to be able to move forward from Greece, but a lot of refugees are stuck. They're still in Greece, and they've been there for a few years, and it's, some of them can work, some of them can't. They don't all speak Greek, so that makes it very difficult for them to work. They're sometimes casted out in refugee camps, so they can't really do much. So for us, that was the same also in France. So we worked with another foundation, an Oris, and UNHCR France, to make a project happen. I don't know where the photo of it is. So this is when we launched the project, basically, with Oris. And then this is one picture of the project. Not that one. This is another picture of the project. And this is Oris. But yeah, in general, it was really incredible to know that we can give back. And this partnership literally just started. And it makes me very, very proud that our partners share the same values, and we are on a great way to make a difference in the world. So yeah, that's in a very broad way my story, and I am really, really happy to be here today, and I'm gonna probably open it for questions. If any of you have any questions for me or Oris, please let us know.
Thank you so much, Yusra. Your story, can you hear me? Your story is so incredibly inspiring. If anyone hasn't watched the movie, please go ahead and learn more about your incredible life so far. Any questions, raise your hand and I will bring the microphone to you.
First, I wanted to say that God bless you and everybody for coming out. Life is a journey, and as I was listening to your story, I couldn't help but think of some books that got me through along the way. Sometimes they were missing pages, and one of those books was The Alchemist. And I thought of your journey, like sometimes you go so far away from home and you find that everything was right there. But if you didn't take the effort to be a refugee, what would your story be? So, and then your story is like for everybody. So it was more not a question, but a salute to you, because I know people from Cuba who have to go through that, and those are the most creative people that I know, because when you do without, God multiplies you. You understand? So God bless you, and keep going what you're going. You touched my heart tonight, and I won't keep you long.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Any other questions in the audience? Yes.
Hi there. Thank you again for telling your story. Your foundation, can you tell us a little bit more about that and what you do and what we can do to help or contribute in any way?
Thank you. Yeah, the Yusra Mardini Foundation, as I said, was launched a year ago, and it's very young. So super honestly, we're still navigating what the next projects are. We launched worldwide, so we can do projects basically everywhere in the world. Our next step is to launch projects in the US. We have done one in Greece and one in Canada and one in France, only in 1 year, so it's going well, thank God. But we definitely soon need some volunteers. We always are welcoming help. But so what we focus on mainly is providing opportunities through education and sports. So when refugees are in refugee camps around the world, they don't have access to that. And when I launched the foundation, I had a lot of conversations with people from the philanthropic world, and I was like, but why would a refugee want to, they wouldn't think about sports when they're in a camp, right? And someone from the UN told me, actually, it gives them the feeling of normality. It helps. Why? Because when you wake up in the morning, you're going to school in the refugee camp, and then you go back for a break, and then you go back for sports lessons. So that helps. And in my opinion, sports and education are what made me who I am today. My father always pushed for sport, and my mom always pushed for education. And I think the combination of both of these things helped me become the woman that I am today. And I think it's really the most basic human right that we give opportunities to refugees that are in camps. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give equal opportunities, whether they're in camps or not. So we're always welcoming any ideas. We're welcoming volunteers. We're welcoming donations. And we have the Yusra Mardini Foundation Instagram. So we have a page as well where you can learn more about the projects. And as I said, we're always welcoming volunteers and welcoming ideas. We're here to grow and learn. Thank you.
I'll bring the mic over here.
Hi, I've watched your swimmers documentary twice actually, and it's the only thing I've seen on Netflix in the past 3 years, and it's been an impressive story. And my question is, well, I'm also an athlete. I'm 17, and yeah, not swimming but squash. But kind of what's going through your head when you see your life story being displayed on a screen, and what do you hope that your viewers will gain from it?
Yeah, thank you. I never played squash. I hope you can teach me. But yeah, it's when we signed the deal for the film, I told them I will never believe that there is a movie until it's on screen. And then the moment came around in 2022, and when I watched the film for the first time, it was an empty cinema with my sister next to me, and then my coach a few seats far ahead, and then in the back were the producer and director of the film. And the reaction that my sister and I had, we were laughing, crying, turning to the director and saying, this really happened, even though we know it's about our life story. So in general, it's just, I was talking about this today, that it's so surreal that I am 26 and I have a film about my life. Usually, the person's either very old or they're not here anymore. So it's just, it's an incredible privilege, to be honest, because when we agreed to make the film, it was not about the film itself. It was about telling the stories of millions of refugees around the world. So when you watch The Swimmers, you relate to it as a mother, as a friend, as a refugee, as a sibling. There's so many aspects to the film. A lot of people always ask me, where's the Eritrean woman? Where's your bird? Where's Sarah now? Where's your little sister? So this is the beauty of the film. You care about every character in the film, not just the two sisters. And this is what we wanted to give to audiences. This film was not made to win an Oscar. This film was not made because of awards. This film was made because we wanted to make social impact. We wanted people to understand that to be better, to achieve better things in life, you need people and you need the circles around you. Even when I was in the journey, I met incredible refugees along the way that were willing to share their food, knowing they have nothing but a biscuit. And that, to me, that's what I wanted the swimmers to show. I wanted to show that it doesn't matter where you come from, this can happen to anybody. I was living life in Syria, not knowing anything will happen. I was focusing on swimming solely, and I didn't even know that I can give back. So I hope the swimmers can tell people the stories of millions of refugees around the world, because our story is the 1%, unfortunately. And there are so many people that still need our help, that still need us to stand up for them. And another thing is that a lot of refugees say, "Did you watch The Swimmers? That's exactly what happened to me." And that was important for us to tell. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, thank you. I've seen the film, I think twice as well, actually. It's just such a beautiful story, and bravery is obviously, every single refugee has some amount of it, obviously, to get where they need to go. And my question is, when you were swimming in the dinghy, was there any moment that you were scared or afraid that you wouldn't make it, or in the back of your mind were you just like, I just need to continue swimming, it's gonna be fine? Like, how much positivity versus scary or negativity was there?
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad everyone watched it twice. That's great. But of course, at the time, one thought that was in the back of my mind is that my parents knew that we were on a dinghy and did not know if we were making it or not, because usually the journey takes 45 minutes. So as a mother and a father that are waiting desperately to find news about their kids, that was really heartbreaking. The second thing, of course, I was scared. I was terrified. The ocean is not the pool. I did not know what's going to happen. I did not know how other people would react, because as a lifeguard, you know that if someone is freaking out, they might hit you, they might pull you down. So that was the main goal on the boat, was to keep everyone in harmony. And everything else came step by step. So a lot of people ask, like, what did my life flash in front of my eyes? Nope. I was just thinking in the moment. I was just trying to look at the child on the boat. I was literally making funny faces for him not to realize that we're drowning. I was trying, like, we were wearing life jackets, even we were swimmers. There was here, when I got out of the water, there was bruises here because of the salt. And the other thing, I was thinking about my sister, losing her. So yeah, you're thinking about the scariest things. What's in the water? That also comes across, because yes, it was the Mediterranean, but you never know. It was really, really scary, and it was cold. I didn't know if someone would come and rip the boat. We didn't know what's going to happen. Will we be arrested? Will we survive? I somehow did not really doubt that we're going to survive. I just was very worried about everyone else on the boat, because there was a very high percentage of people that did not know how to swim. And yeah, it was definitely terrifying. And sometimes I think I remember everything, but I will never remember everything that happened in the boat. But I'm glad that we made it. And every time I am near the Mediterranean, I have so much respect and sadness, because I know that many refugees did not make it. But yeah, that's the film sums it up in a very, very, very realistic way. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Thank you. We're going to bring it over here.
This is not really a question, just a comment. I'm also from Aleppo, Syria. I swam competitively there. I moved to the US in 2016, so I've watched you compete both in Rio and also in Tokyo. Just want to say that you're a really, you're a really inspiring person. And just seeing someone compete on an international level as a person who's also seen war and war zones. Thank you for representing us.
talk to you in a second.
What it's about, right?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming.
That's beautiful. Wow. All right.
Thank you.
We'll take a few more questions over here.
Thank you. Hi, Yusra. You mentioned your organization is expanding their work to the U.S. Do you know how would that, is it going to be collaborations with schools or with different organizations? I worked with New York City Department of Education. I met a lot of immigrant kids who never learned how to swim. I didn't learn how to swim until I was 17 when I came from Iraq. So I want to know if that's the plan, is to collaborate with organizations or with schools or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So most of the time we are trying to collaborate with NGOs that are already on the ground, because as a small foundation we're trying to already support projects that are already in motion. But if there are any ideas, sometimes NGOs are reaching out to us. But mostly we're very open, to be honest. We're very open to, as I said, learning more about projects that are happening in the US. But I would love to support any educational or sports projects. And I know that there are a lot of refugees here that need to have opportunities to, learn or practice sports. But yeah, the US is a big country, and we're just navigating where exactly we want to do it. In an ideal world, I would want to have a project in every state, but that will come with time. So yeah, we will start small. We will start slow. But there's one project, as example, that I really love. It's in California, and it's migrant refugees that come a few times a week to learn how to dance hip hop. And I love that because I took a hip hop class and I loved it. So it's about any type of sports, but swimming is definitely important to learn how to swim. And yeah, if you have an idea, just reach out to us, please, and we'll see how we can make it happen. But we're very open about any ideas, and I think the more the merrier, because there's always need to help, and there's always ways where we can figure out how to help refugees. Learn whether that's swimming or play basketball or support their dreams of becoming the next Michael Phelps. We're always welcoming everything. We just see how we can collaborate with you or with great brands like Oris to make it happen. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And I unfortunately only saw it once. I will
Here's your motivation tonight.
I will watch it again. But I have a question on your foundation and the great work that you are doing. Actually, I have two questions. One is, how is the Olympics committee can help you as well as the UN? Not only the UN refugees, but other sisters of the UN and the UN system as a whole. And I know we are going through difficult times. I also would like to hear a little bit from you on as we know, the refugees, unfortunately, and the migrants are being under attack everywhere, a little bit, not only in this country, but in Europe and elsewhere. I don't know, actually I don't, but I saw in the movie what you went through, and many of them go through. What exactly, if you could speak today about what your journey and what you would tell to these people that actually are pointing the fingers to the migrants and to the refugees in the world?
Very good question. First thing I would say in terms of the US, vote wisely. That's what I'm going to say. But for us, humanity as a whole, I think there are so many ways to help. I think it's, first of all, to reflect and to realize that anyone can become a refugee. I can become a refugee again because of climate change. We don't know what's going on with the world day by day. So there is no one native country. You don't go to Germany and see only Germans. You don't come to the US and see just Americans. So this is the beauty of life. The beauty of life is us learning from other cultures, learning from each other. I always say this, it might sound silly, but we give opportunities to, art and food super quickly, so why not humans? So the thing that I would say is, the first thing that we can do is really educate ourselves about what's going on in the world and why are refugees leaving their countries. When the war started in my country, I was 13 years old. I did not know anything about war, politics, who's in power, who's not in power. All I knew is that I had to escape. I had to stay safe. My family had to stay safe. And a lot of refugees are the same. They leave their country not because they don't love their country. Syria is one of the greatest countries to me. I mean, the culture, the food, the people, the weather, everything is incredible. So if I was not forced to leave my country, I would never. And it's the same for people that come from Venezuela or Cuba or anywhere in the world. So I would say give refugees a chance. Go try their food. Welcome them. I always say that you cannot say 100% of refugees are going to be good. Not 100% of athletes are going to be good, but this is the law of universe. But I say a lot of refugees around the world really just want the opportunity to belong. They want the opportunity to be able to speak the language of the country that they arrived to. They want the opportunity to work. It's one of the most important things to them. And then they want to have a better future for their families. Otherwise, they would not risk their lives. No one would. And my work with the UN or the IOC did a very bold move with creating the Refugee Olympic Team, and that was in collaboration with UNHCR and the UN. And the Refugee Olympic Team in 2016, we were only 10 athletes and I think 50 scholarship holders, and the numbers are growing, and we just won the first medal for the Refugee Olympic Team in the Olympics and Paralympics. So this team is here to compete. This team is here to show that it is possible, that we do not leave home because we're not talented and we want opportunities. Of course, opportunities are incredible. If I'm working hard for the life that I want, I should have it. But the bronze medalist in the Olympics from the Refugee Olympic Team, her name is Cindy Winner-Gampa. I needed to say that. From Cameroon, thank you. And she is a refugee in the UK. And she trained with Team GP since she was 12 years old. And since now she's, I think, 26, same age as me, or 25. And since she was 12 until now, she was not granted a passport. What's the reason? No one knows. But she could win a medal, and she was not able to compete for anyone but the Refugee Olympic Team. So this is what the IOC did. It gave opportunities to athletes from all over the world. If I did not compete in Rio, I don't know if I would be here today. It gave us the opportunity to have a voice, to be able to be more than just athletes. Cindy is now an example for so many people, whether that's from the Cameroon. I mean, she's my idol. And it's just incredible to see athletes from the Refugee Olympic Team win. So I think the UN and the IOC will continue supporting refugees, and the scholarships are becoming more and more. And there is a project that we're working together on, which is resettling IOC scholarship holders, because some of the Refugee Olympic Team members, they compete at the Olympics and they go back to refugee camps, which is insane. So we're working on resettling some of the athletes to Canada, where they have opportunities to do sports, go to university, And a year afterwards, they work towards their asylum, getting a passport, and they get to have jobs. And some of the athletes are already resettled, and they're very, very successful. So why not, you know, make it happen in the US and everywhere in the world? I think it's possible, but we have to, you know, go and knock the doors on universities and make it happen. Yeah.
I saw a hand over here.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for coming. I think what you've done and kind of like the journey that you've been on is just very, very, very inspiring. I guess, like, first off, my name is Mona. I grew up, I was born and raised in Palestine, lived through one too many wars, unfortunately, and now I've ended up here in the US. I have two questions for you. The first one is, how do you cope and bridge the nexus between your life back in Syria and now in the US? Obviously, like, a lot of people see you and you're fine, but of course things were not fine just a few years ago. So how do you kind of like bridge that life experience to life right now in the US? And the second question is, in light of everything that's happening in Palestine and Lebanon and kind of the Middle East right now, how does the Yusra Mardini Foundation, I guess, adjust its pillars or kind of like its goals moving forward, given what's happening and what's been happening in the past year? So yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, to answer first of all, I hope your family is okay. And second of all, for the first question, I'm a human being. Unfortunately, like, sometimes it's very difficult because it seems like I have everything figured out, because if you look at social media, oh, it's perfect. But that's not reality. And I am someone that is against having everything on social media, because that's just, you cannot. There's so much work that I do that's not portrayed on social media because of how sensitive it is. So for me, a lot of people are asking, what are you doing? Why are you not sharing? Why are you not talking? But to me, I don't have to prove that I'm doing something. And that's the important point, is that you do things authentically and in the best way, not to please other people, but because it's the right way to do. And so it's been difficult. Sometimes it's just so traumatizing that I cannot even look at any of the news stories anymore. And it's been a very difficult year because I don't know what to do. And I'm learning step by step. If there is anything that I can do, I am doing it. And in terms of the Yusra Mardini Foundation, I work directly with UNHCR on immediate, whether that's we're calling for a ceasefire or immediate donations to emergency appeals and so on. I work with UNHCR on that, that's the beauty of working with UNHCR and having my own foundation. Because the Yusra Mardini Foundation is focusing on education and sports. It was kind of a smaller thing to what I do with the UN. And we are having a campaign soon. It's going to be released to raise funds to be able to help, as example, Syrian refugees that were already refugees in Lebanon, and they're already refugees. They're becoming refugees again for Lebanon as well. So it's honestly, step by step, there is no Yusra Mardini in this situation. There is a human being, and there is how can I cope, and how can I give back, and how can I be someone that can actually talk and advocate about this. But I have never lived something like this. Yes, I've been in a war zone, but I haven't been outside trying to deal with the situation. I've been there. And it's two completely different things. And it makes it harder to deal with the situation because sometimes all you want to do is just cry. And you don't know what to do. And I just call my friends, I call my coach, I call UNHCR, and I'm like, how can we do something? And sometimes to wait a little bit and do something great is better than reacting immediately. But yeah, that's me and how I deal with things. And I hope that I do a good job, but as I said, I am a human being, and I try to deal with things step by step, but like everyone else.
Thank you. We have one question over here.
Thank you. Salam. My name is Sylvie Bello, and I'm from Cameroon. I actually wrote some 3 questions for you. I feel like we are connected in 3 ways, and each of those ways I have a question. One is that I'm a fellow swimmer, not competitively, but recreationally. And my question around that is, as you're thinking about partnering in the US, I would like for you to, I'm actually from DC, and I shared with my swim team, which is a black swim team, that I was coming here, and everyone was really excited. I didn't even know you were a lifeguard. Unfortunately, I've not watched the movie, sorry.
That's beautiful.
Just wanted to put a plug that when you're considering the United States, do consider the black swim groups, especially black refugees. The second thing is about refugee advocate. It also happens that I'm an immigration activist for Cameroonians and Africans and black refugees. And last year we had a boat that capsized in the Caribbean. And you had mentioned several times, one about certain privileges. You didn't put it directly, but I inferred about certain privileges, even within the refugee community. Like when you said that you passed or that you pretended to be European, those are things that Africans or most Africans just cannot do. When you also talked about why did Cindy, fellow Cameroonian, has not had a British passport, there is anti-blackness in immigration. Just wanted to put that out. And then the third question is Horological Society, where they've generously put this together. I had some questions there about, are there any I'm doing a series of op-eds where the Horological Society is helping me do research on marine chronometer. And does Oris have any watches? Again, I'm so sorry, I'm not familiar with Oris. So does Oris have any watches that are geared towards like divers or swimmers or that come from the marine chronometer? So those are the three questions there. Thank you.
I'll answer the Oris one first because I'm so excited about that. I love the watch. They have a diving watch. I think you have multiple ones, right? Yeah, and I loved it. I was in Geneva Watches and Wonders, and I loved it so much. I was like, can I wear this to normal life? But it's really big, and obviously it's completely different. I cannot talk about the details. Maybe if you want to share. I can give you. Oh, perfect.
Yes, thank you. We make a lot of diving watches. It's actually one of our largest families that we do. So we make everything from basic 300-meter water resistance all the way up to 4,000-meter water resistance. The one Yusra was talking about was the really big one we just came out with. But we do a lot around that. And then also, to use our platform, we try to do the same thing. We make product that kind of tells a story. So like we have a product that's called Upcycle that's made from PET plastic. So that basically tries to tell the story of, helping the plastic is a big problem with the ocean, and really, is the amount of plastic in the watch dial something that's saving the world? No, but it's opening the conversation that this is an issue and this is a problem, and the people buying luxury watches are the people that have the means by which to make changes or advocate for these things, and that's how we see it. That's how we use our global platform as a Swiss global watch brand to do that. We also make a product called Bracenet, which we saw a picture of before, which is made from ghost fishing nets that have been taken from the ocean and made into dials. So we try to do our part related to, obviously, yes, we have diving product, but also to tell the story and advocate for the causes that we do. So.
Yeah, have my own. And the 2 other questions. So the first one, for me, a refugee is a refugee. That's the most important thing. So if I'm working with refugees, I do not care where they come from. I want to help everybody. So when we work in the US or in Europe, everyone's welcome. When we have swimming lessons, everyone can come in and they can swim. Even if they're, volunteers that want to help us, they're more than welcome. we have a few photos of our projects, I think. But, oh, this is, sorry. So this was one, oh no, sorry. But yeah, as I said, we have, everyone's welcome. And yeah, speaking of Cindy, I don't know what is the reasoning behind her not getting a passport, but definitely is not justice that she didn't get a passport, and I'm sure she had so many challenges to get where she is today, but I'm really glad that she's setting an example for whether that's girls from the Cameroon or whether that's, every refugee in the world. When I met Cindy for the first time, I said that I thought I'm someone that can inspire, but I've never met someone with such a beautiful, positive personality. And when you ask her, how are you? She goes, I'm good, how are you? I hope you're living today like it's the last one. And I love that, and we all should live by that. So yeah, I'm really glad that she's setting an example, and it's only the beginning for her. I hope she goes pro, and yeah, she's just proving everyone wrong, and I love it.
Any final questions?
So I had a lot of questions in my mind, but I wanted to ask you one thing I do with everybody. I ask them what their name is.
My name?
Yes.
Yusra.
Yusra. And can you tell me the meaning of it?
It means ease.
Ease?
Yeah.
Right. So, do you feel like you are aligned with, like, is your purpose aligned with your name?
Yeah.
Right. And when did you realize that the places that God was putting you into, like being a swimmer, being a survivor, being around other refugees who might not be as strong, that you were the ease?
I believed that I'm gonna do something special since I was very young, before anything happened in my life. I think I was in the 2nd grade. Yes. They changed the English book for my year. And it was for, a lot of children around the country, but I thought I'm special. And since then, I believed in that.
So you read my mind. The first question that I didn't ask you, I didn't know it was going to be too heavy, but I was going to, because I'm one of them. So I was going to ask you, do you feel like, because I got a read in here, like, you've been protected since you was a child. But I didn't know if that was too heavy, because, you know what I mean? But do you feel that way?
How? What, sorry,
that you've been protected?
Protected?
Since you was like a child, like you said, you felt special. Like, I know it was stuff going on around you where kids might have been snatched, or just poverty issues and people moving, and next thing you know, it's just you and your family, but somehow you just keep making it out of every storm, right?
Yeah, so...
That's me, so I recognize it.
Yeah, so I grew up with 2 parents that did not get the same opportunities I got in life. My mother and father would have a lot of challenges in life, but when they come back home, they were very kind to us. They were still doing their duties to us, and they would be very disappointed at night, but then the next day they would wake up, they would say, good morning, it's a new day, let's try again. Yeah. And I think my parents gave me the strength of being who I am today. And I was very stubborn from a very young age. And that might have been a problem when I was a child, but here we are today.
Well, listen, I don't want to keep nobody up, but I'll say this. You have been a joy, and that's an inspiration. I'll let you know something. I have HIV, and we came a long way with it, but psychologically, and then I deal with a lot of inflammation every day. So it's pain, and you're going to feel it. So, but in spite of that, I come out, and I come to places like this, and I learn how to get over myself and how to be able to come out. And, you know, good morning means a lot. You know, so, because a lot of people don't feel like they worthy of that. So when I see that you are, not just you're speaking about your story, but when you are engaging, right? There go that
Thank
smile
you so
again.
much.
Here
Thank you
go.
for sharing.
You too, bud.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. I wanted to thank Oris as well. I know that sometimes in the watch world, it's all about the fancy glitz and glam and the six-figure watches. But because you're putting someone on the stage like Yusra, it really lets us know that there is something bigger than us, that there's a more important story to tell. And maybe if it wasn't for Oris, I might have not heard about you, but I'm really honored to know your story, and it's very inspiring. And I just wanted to give you another round of applause so if everyone can help me.
Well, thank you so much to Oris and to Horological Society. This has been wonderful. I could talk to you all night, but it's Monday, you know. Thank you so much for coming out again on a Monday. I'm really, really thankful that I could share my story and know that the smallest act of kindness goes a long way, whether towards refugees or not. Okay? Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much.